How's it going, everybody? I really need to cover something today, and that is something I've been hearing from not only the left wing, but also the right wing concerning the recent Orlando shooting and the knee-jerk reactions that have come out with it. And I don't think you people understand the implications of what you're saying. Now, normally people assume I'm on the left wing, but in fact I'm on the I'm on the right wing, but in fact I'm on the left wing on quite a lot of issues. For instance, I don't believe that corporations are people. I'm a very traditional liberal in that I believe in individual freedoms and freedom of speech, constitutional rights, due process. I don't believe that we can hold people at Guantanamo Bay forever without due process, without a trial. So some things I tend to be left-wing on, and I don't always side with the right-wing Christians and all that, but I'm generally on your side for gun control. But I don't think you people understand what you're saying when you say that we must put people who are on the no-fly list or the terrorist watch list, we must deny them their constitutional Second Amendment rights. You don't understand what you're saying. They are not going through due process in this. What you're basically saying is that you're guilty before you're proven to be guilty. Normally in this country, you're innocent before proven guilty. But you're taking that and switching it around. There's no due process in that. What you're saying is that the government can put you on an arbitrary list with no requirements, no oversight. They can decide for any reason you can go on this list. You're not allowed trial by jury. You're not allowed any appeals. You're just put on the list. I can link you to many, many stories of people being put on the no-flyer list for no good goddamn reason. Now, you people are normally with me when it's a free speech issue. When I'm saying absolutist things about free speech, the left wing's normally with me. They're normally with me when I say you cannot detain people at Guantanamo Bay forever. They have to have due process. You're normally with me when I say that a U.S. citizen cannot be denied these rights. But with this, you're like, no, you can just skip the whole due process thing and go right to denying them constitutional rights. Even if you believe in gun control to that extent, you're putting down a very dangerous precedent when it comes to freedom of speech, our other constitutional rights, due process. All of that is basically put in limbo if you say that the government can take away your rights without due process. You have to think about what you're saying here. I'm so freaking mad about this I can't even talk. But other stupid shit that people have been saying lately, it just boggles my mind. Most of it's coming from the left wing after that first rant. The right wing has been saying stupid shit lately. But the left wing especially, just shit that when you speak about guns and you know nothing, it's immediately obvious to us that you have no idea what you're talking about. One thing I've heard recently is that why is it so much easier to get a rifle rather than a pistol? For a pistol, you need to go through some extra checks in some states, and generally it's easier to get a rifle than a pistol, concerning paperwork, background checks, all that shit. The explanation for this is very, very simple, grounded in facts. You can check these facts through the FBI Uniform Crime Study. But basically, rifles don't get used in crimes, statistically. No one goes out and takes a $700 AR-15 and robs a convenience store and shoots the clerk. It doesn't happen. Statistically, it does not happen. Looking at pure statistics, 2012, there were 322 rifles used in violent crimes. That is any rifle. Bolt action, lever action, semi-automatic. The number of AR-15s used is very, very tiny out of the total amount of people who were murdered. Now, to put this in perspective, 678 people were bludgeoned to death. I mean, beat to death with a blunt object. Double the number of rifles used. It's statistically non-existent. It doesn't happen. No one uses rifles in these sorts of crimes. No one uses rifles to murder someone. It just does not make sense. To put more in perspective, 1,604 knives were used. Almost 5 times as many rifles. And when you look at pistols, the vast majority of firearms crimes are committed with pistols. Mostly very cheap, inexpensive, shitty pistols that you can get for no amount of money. Basically, you can buy them on the black market from drug dealers or whatever for nothing. Mostly high points and bullshit. But anyways, rifles don't amount to anything when it comes to the crime statistics. That is why they're so much easier to get, because no one uses them in those sorts of crimes. 2 more stupid things that I've heard recently from the left. Now, these have lessened a little bit because we've been so hard on explaining to people that they're just fucking wrong, that we're finally breaking through to some people, is the background check issue. Everyone says you need background checks to buy a firearm. Morons, we already do. Form 4473, instant background check through the FBI. The reason that people don't get picked up by this normally is because our mental health institutions are completely out of whack, and people who should be registered as incompetent are not, because we've basically neglected mental health for the past like 4 decades. That's a completely different issue. We also don't handle the extremist problem in our country well. That needs to be looked at. That's another thing. But people slip through the cracks. The reality is you're never going to catch anyone. When somebody loses their mind or becomes an extremist for one reason or another, or comes here as an extremist, you're not going to be able to do anything. If they can't get the rifles legally, they'll get them illegally. That's just the fact of it. We already have background checks. The problem is it's not enforced correctly. The systems we have in place allow people to slip through for money reasons. We don't invest enough money. We're not doing it correctly when it comes to mental health. Blah, 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 blah. There's 100 different reasons that the laws we have on place are not being as effective as we would like them to be. More laws will do nothing because basically we can't enforce the ones we've got now. That's the issue here. The next thing that normally tips us off that you have no idea what you're talking about is people say the AR-15 is unbelievably powerful. I think it was Oprah Winfrey who said that you could blow a deer's head off or something like that with one round. The truth of the matter is the 5.56 223 is an extremely weak round. If you're not familiar with guns, you're in the anti-gun crowd, let me just calm down for a second and let me explain this to you so that you don't sound stupid. So if you want to argue against us, you at least have some idea what you're talking about. This is a 5.56 223. This is what the AR-15 fires. It's a very small, high-velocity round. It doesn't pack a lot of punch. The advantage of it is that you can have quite a few rounds in a magazine, but in terms of actual killing power, it's very small. We don't even use them on deer. It's considered more of a varmint round. You use them on groundhogs, pest creatures, coyotes, that kind of thing. One of the most common bullets on the market is the .308, and you can just see the size difference here. It's tiny, tiny, tiny compared to the .308. It's a very small rifle round. This will not take a deer's head off. It will barely kill a deer if you don't hit it in exactly the right spot. This is my .375 Holland & Holland. This is a large game caliber. This is a very expensive bullet, first off. But compared to the .223, the .223 generates about 1,200 foot-pounds of pressure, foot-pounds of energy. This .375 Holland & Holland generates 4,500. Just to put that in perspective, the .223 is not a very powerful rifle round. The last part that really tells us that you have no idea what you're talking about is that you don't understand what semi and full auto means. And we get all kinds of stupid shit that we like to make fun of the left-wing reporters for. Guy in California saying a bullet button will make your gun go full auto. In fact, the bullet button restricts your ability to use the magazine. But stupid shit like that, or who was it? I think it might have been Hillary Clinton that said you could shoot down a plane with a 50 cal. Everyone who knows anything about guns just immediately knows she was a dumbass. No idea what she's talking about. But the main issue is knowing the difference between semi-auto, which the correct term would be an auto-loader, and fully automatic. A semi-automatic gun is one pull the trigger, one bullet goes down range. What it does, the reason it's called an auto-loader, is it will load the next round for you. So when you release the trigger and reset it, you can fire another round. What a full auto does is the entire process is fully automatic. You pull the trigger, it loads the round, cocks the hammer, fires the round, and repeats that process until you let go of the trigger. Semi-automatic guns are not really that much of a concern. You can work a lever action. I could post videos of people working lever actions, probably faster than some people can pull the trigger on their AR-15. But it's not a real concern. It's one pull the trigger, one bullet. One pull the trigger, one bullet. A fully automatic weapon, as I said, spits out rounds. And that's what many people think that an AR-15 does. An AR-15 is not fully automatic. It is semi-automatic. It is an auto-loader. The last point I really want to make in this video is more of a statement, I suppose. The AR-15 is not the most powerful gun on the market. It's not even close. Generally, what we're seeing is 5.56 AR-15s. You can get the 40 SOCOM, the 50 Beowulf. The general AR-15 is not the most powerful gun on the market. You can get much more powerful rifles. You can get rifles with much more capacity. If you get an AK-47, you can get a 75-round drum for it right now from multiple sites. It does not have the highest ammo capacity. It does not have the most killing capacity that you could find on the market. That is not the reason these people use the AR-15. The reason they use the AR-15 is the same reason that we see copycat killers. We see people put out manifestos that call 911 in order to get their message out there. It's because they want the psychological effect. The media has drummed up the AR-15 to be this horrifying, monstrous killing machine that it isn't. It's the psychological effect. The news wants the it bleeds, it reads viewer base to get all excited over it. They want to put out this horrible black rifle, get everyone riled up, and get the views. They want the story. Unfortunately, much like publishing the manifestos, showing these people's faces, it gets them what they want. They want to be the guy with that big scary rifle that everyone's afraid of. Whether or not it is that big scary rifle, whether or not it is full auto or the most powerful gun out there, it doesn't matter. That's what the general population thinks. That's why they use these rifles. It's because it's been drummed up to be this monster inside our country that it isn't. The media has done this to you. It's made you completely ignorant of the realities and made you scared of a chunk of metal and plastic. The same reason that we shouldn't print these people's manifesto, we shouldn't show their faces, we shouldn't show their names, is the same reason we shouldn't make a chunk of metal out to be something that it's not. It's a tool that these people use for their horrible crimes. What we should be doing is looking at the ideologies, the thoughts, and reasons that these people commit the crimes. We can take away the tools if you want, but it's not going to stop this. Some of the worst killings in this country were committed with bombs, things made out of pressure cookers, fertilizer. You're not going to stop it. The truth is the human mind sent a man to the moon. If it's put to the task of killing hundreds of people or as many people as they possibly can. You can't stop them. The only way to limit this is to look at the reasons people do this, the ideologies behind it, and put a stop to that. Mitigate that danger. Otherwise, you're not going to do anything. If you don't stop the underlying cause, you're never going to make any headway. And the last point I want to make, the last misunderstanding, is that America is a dangerous place. It's not true. Statistically, factually, we are the safest we've ever been in 40 years. There are less murders now than there have been in your entire life. There are less crimes than has been in your entire life. For the last 4 decades, we've been on a steady downtrend. Things have been getting better and better in this country in terms of crime. You are safer now than you have ever been. Do not let the media make you afraid. It's not true. They're trying to sell you a story. You need to get the facts yourself. You need to listen to people who are not trying to sell you something, people who are trying to get information out there. And they're out there. You have the information. You have the internet. You can look up the statistics yourself. Don't be ignorant of these things. Don't be ignorant of firearms. Don't be ignorant of the statistics. Don't let people use propaganda to scare you.